Hello, hello, hello. My name is Pure Draculea, and welcome to today's video, today's Draw With Me video. Today I am doing the last of the cast portraits for my Noah's Archipelago comic collection. Well, for the first of those books. I think there's going to be 4, maybe 5 collections of the Noah's Archipelago comics from when it was a webcomic. Now I've decided I'm going to be moving it into graphic novels and coloring books and other book-related projects. So there won't be any more of those comics, the web comic versions, but we are going to be publishing, self-publishing collections of them. So, and because this is the first book, which the working title is Bring Me the Royal Flip-Flops, I figured I should put in some, explanation a little bit about the comic in the introduction and whatnot, and also I will be doing these Meet the Cast little write-ups and portraits. So this one, the final one, is our main man Noah Thorsen, and you can already see I'm working on Bristol board with a dip pen India ink, and I'm working over top of a non-photo blue pencil underdrawing. So I know a lot of what's on the page right now probably doesn't really show up in camera, but we will get there as we ink it. So, but what you definitely can see already is the notes. Well, so here's the thing with Noah. He is a singer. He sings in cover bands, tribute bands, and he has a wedding band. Well, that's the cover band that makes the most money. Some of the same dudes between different projects and whatnot. So he is a singer. That is his job. By day, he is a stay-at-home dad, and his mother-in-law likes to think he doesn't work at all, but that's definitely not true. In fact, I'm working on finishing up a coloring book that I will hopefully have out in 2026 towards the end of the year, although who knows, it may not come out until 2027, which is the A to Z of Noah's job history. At least that's the working title. I may tweak the title later, but the idea on that one is that Ursula, Noah's eldest daughter, has a homework assignment about jobs and careers, so comes home, she asks her father if he's ever had a job. He explains he has 2 jobs right now. Full-time stay-at-home dad by day, and then he sings in bands at night. And Ursula's like, yeah, but like a job, a real job. So then he tells her about all these real jobs he's had, which range from airport bird scarer to theme park zombie. When they kind of do the theme parks up for Halloween and they hire actors to wander around, pretend to be zombies, and all sorts of stuff in between. The only of those jobs that she's actually interested in is quality assurance at a candy factory, which is to say taste tester. Ursula immediately knows what she wants to do with the rest of her life when she heard about that. But he's had various other jobs. But right now, it's stay-at-home dad and singer. Now, with the tendrils of his hair, when I do the comic in full color, he's got gray streaks here and just in front of his ears. And then he has different shades of brown and whatnot. In black and white, now, most of this book actually is in full color, but I got the idea to do the bonus content all in black and white, so that includes the cast portraits. But basically what we do is we just very sparing in our strokes. You just want a little bit that and that's all I'm going to do for his gray, And when people get into the rest of the book, or even on the cover, they'll be able to see the varying hairdo shades. But, yeah. And one of the reasons why I decided I was doing the bonus material in black and white for this book, even though the comics are all in full color, is because I know I'm going to be moving Noah into graphic novels, and the graphic novels would be black and white. So I figure let's establish that style for Noah now, and then it's less of a shock when the other books come out and they're very black and white, you know. So there's that thinking. I'll probably come in on some of the strands with thicker nib and give a little bit more texture, darker shadows, whatever. So we're assuming that one there is a gray streak. Anyways, what else can we say about Noah? Other than he has had plenty of jobs, but yeah, so in the daytime, he's hanging out at home. He's minding Ursula. Well, obviously she goes to school and whatnot. Although she keeps asking to be homeschooled, and Noah's like, hell no. But let's switch this out. I've been doing some cartooning with other stuff for a couple hours now, so the nib is starting to get a little bit gummy. So I kind of want to keep swishing out. Eventually, that's probably a good time to soak this pen in I've got 3 bowls of water, not just the one you see here. But I will now let that one soak for a little bit, a couple minutes or so, while we move to a different nib and add some thicker, bolder, darker lines. See, that already makes that strand really pop out. We won't do it with all of them, but just, here and there. So this is the last video I'll be posting on working on the anthology. Now, Comics Treasury. Keep wanting to call it an anthology, but anthology means multiple authors, so that's not actually correct. I mean, when the book is ready for sale, then I will do like a partial flip through with one of the proof copies or an author copy, so people get a sense of what they're getting, and of course that'll have the buy it here, that'll be the big sales pitch. There's no point in doing the sales pitch yet because things aren't ready for sale. But anyways, for the Tuesday drawings, Tuesday videos, starting next week, I think we are working on Cheesy Rats, which is a Noah graphic novel. Actually, I got to think about that. Cheesy Rats is one. That involves Ursula as well as Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat. But I think the first Noah graphic novel, basically it's kind of I have to flip a coin. It's either going to be, and I'm pre-recording this a little early, so maybe I've made my decision by the time this gets posted. But it'll either be Cheesy Rats, where Ursula and Ricky go in search of this mythical pizza place Ursula's heard of named Cheesy Rats, obviously a takeoff of Chuck E. Cheese's. And Ricky's never heard of it, but it sounds really cool and he wants to go. So they round up a posse of, Ricky's nephew and nieces and some of Ursula's friends and so on, where they have a kind of a posse to go and find this mythical Cheesy Rats. I have an idea for the story, but I don't actually have everything planned out. So at the time of this recording. The other option is How Noah Met Ruth, which would be a graphic novel, also based off of Ursula's homework, where she has to write an essay about her family. So she asks how her parents met, and then Noah explains, and it's kind of as he's the narrator, and as he's explaining things, then we see them going on. So we will see. I'm going to break out the crow quill for some really fine detail because he's on stage, you know, kind of shows up a little bit, but he's singing. So he's going to be on stage. He's under hot lights. He's been shaking his butt around, as one does. So he is sweating, but I don't want the sweat to be like the same. I just think it works better if it's kind of, thinner. And this is, it's a little bit bigger than it needs to be drawn. I think the actual book is like 7.5 inches wide by 9.25 inches tall, something like that. So the aspect ratio not really accurate, but we'll probably crop out some of the top and bottom to make it fit after it's been scanned. So he is sweating buckets here. Sometimes I find with the crow quills, they don't want to draw too well. It's like you gotta not have a ton of pressure on them, but you also, if you don't have any pressure on, then it won't draw at all. And not that I spent a huge amount of time on stage, but once upon a time I used to make industrial noise as MACLU, MAQLU. So I have been on stage a few times, and then you do sweat like crazy. I think I've told the story on a previous stream. I don't remember which one. It's a couple months ago now, but I was doing Shindig, which is the annual battle of the bands that CITR Radio puts on. And I was playing guitar. I had a drum machine. I was singing, right? So my hands are occupied. I'm playing, and I feel, like you're under the lights. And those days, this is before LED lights. Now I think a lot of stage lights are LEDs, so they may be not so stinking hot, which would be good. But so they're incandescent stage lights, and it was at the Railway Club in Vancouver, which is a very small stage, and those lights are like 4 feet from your head. So like you really get cooked on them, but which is what I'm kind of referencing here, that he's getting cooked. But I could feel this like pinprick out of the very top of my head up here. And it goes down. And I'm playing and I'm singing. I can't wipe my face. It's going down here. It's getting my eyes and it's stinging. Here. And down into my cleavage, right? All through my set. And that was it. Shindig, I think you only have like 15 minutes, so it wasn't long, but I was just baking and sweating like crazy. Anyways, I thought I'd done all right. Like, it was probably my best performance to that point, because I'm really not a live performer. That's why I'm no longer in the music industry, right? But my friend Ben, who was the organizer, comes up. He's patting me on the shoulder. Says, "You did a really good job, Pyrrha. I think you did great." I'm like, "Yeah, I thought it was pretty good too." And he wasn't the only one. A bunch of my friends from Seattle, you did good, Pyrrha. I'm like, "Cool, yeah. Why are people talking to me like this?" So anyways, it's like, okay, my friends are coming up and they're saying that. I'm like, why is everybody talking to me like that? That's really weird. Like I did good. Why are people talking to me like in this really kind of concerned tone of voice? Like everything's good. I'm like, what the hell? So anyways, I didn't realize it till I get in my car after I've loaded my stuff up and I'm leaving. I didn't win. And I kind of knew I wasn't going to win because one of the bands I was up against were like really good. Which is fine. Like that, I didn't win. I wasn't really expecting to. Like, it would have been nice, but I kind of, whatever. Um, anyways, I get in my car and I do up my seatbelt. I start the car and then I check my rear view mirror because I'm going to pull out like I'm parallel parked. And that's when I realized um, why everybody was talking to me like that, because I had tested out a new makeup palette that I have not tested on stage. Okay. So when that bead of sweat was coming down here, it took my black eyeshadow off, and then I looked I looked like if Alice Cooper was having a mental breakdown. Like all this black shadow was just all like going down. They must have thought I was like crying. Like I was like, I'm so gonna have a breakdown. I'm not doing good. Like they must have thought that was what was happening. Whereas I was just like, I'm like singing and I'm like kind of got my eyes closed because the sweat is burning my eyeballs. And I also used to find it was easier for me to play and sing because if I had to do both, I had to really concentrate. Um, so it was easier for me to do that with my eyes closed. So, but then I was like realizing, like, oh, everybody was doing that. You did okay because they thought I was having a mental breakdown or like, you know, okay, this crow quill's not cooperating now. You can try the glass pen. Sometimes the glass pen cooperates, sometimes it really doesn't. We'll find out which it's going to be today. Yeah, it's working. It's a little bit thicker than the crow quill, but Anyways, so they thought I was like just like freaking out. So they were trying to be supportive, which I appreciate that now. I'm just like at the time I was like, what the hell? I thought I did good. Like you don't need to talk to me like that. But then, like I said, if I'd gone in the bathroom and seen what I looked like, I would have realized, oh, okay, they think I'm crying. But no, it was just the Urban Decay, whatever Urban Decay eyeshadow palette I had gotten just was not sweat proof and just melted down my face because of the sweat from the hot lights. But anyways, Noah's not wearing eyeshadow, so he doesn't have that problem, but he is a very sweaty boy. Anyways, I learned my lesson after that. I went back to using whatever cheap, crappy, I think it was a CoverGirl black eyeshadow palette that I'd had for years. And it's like, okay, well, this one, it doesn't run. And then my other thing was anytime I was testing new makeup before I would go on stage, I would like do my face up and go for like a literal run. Like back in those days, I used to do like sprint intervals. So I would like be out and I'd have like 10 sprint intervals and then I'd see what my face looked like when I came back to my I used to run by my I had a rehearsal studio at Main and Second, so I would come back there, but I had a mirror in the jam space, so then I could look and sort of see. It's like, okay, yeah, hey, that's basically still there. It's a little smudgy, it's fine. Or holy shit, my makeup is right down my face and on my chest. Then wear that. But it kind of didn't really matter that much because I want to say that was 20. Well, what couldn't have been 2014? I think it was 2013. Yeah, it was 2013. So after that, I think I had like 2 gigs. I had like one gig that a friend invited me to because his band was playing. It was like out in Burnaby, somewhere at a pub, and then might have gone to a couple open mics with my acoustic guitar, but I kind of at that point I was like, I don't know, man. And then 2014, I got into doing some stand up. And and then that led me kind of back to visual arts again. Anyways, it's a whole saga, but you get the gist. So one of the things that's always been a little bit weird with Noah is I've tended to draw him in a very flat, cartoony manner, but then sometimes like I'd put like shading on his clothes and whatnot, and uh, I want to be careful here. I don't want it to look like he's like got his throat slit, like he's. It's not blood, it is sweat. But then I guess the fact, if as long as I don't put like weird shading on it, it's gonna be clearly kind of light colored. But you know, anyways, I normally draw him in a very flat two-dimensional manner, but then it kind of, sometimes it can look a little weird with backgrounds. So I think in here we'll give him a little bit of a 3D effect. And I think, I don't know if this should be smooth Bristol board. Some of the Zomo, not Zomo, I keep calling Noah Zomo and Zomo Noah. I think they would both be kind of offended by that, honestly. But kind of give a little bit of a sense of lashes. But I think a lot of the Noah bonus material was done on like a much rougher Bristol board, which kind of, these sharper kind of, we'll give him crow's feet. He'll be pissed, but anyways, sometimes these nibs kind of dig in, and that becomes a problem. You get little fiber, like a little ball of fibers on the tip of the pen. Anyways, we will do that and his nose. Perhaps a little more realistic than we really need to for his mouth, but he always wants to look kind of like Mick Jagger, so we'll... He does look like Bono. In fact, the origin of this character is that he was supposed to be a Bono tribute artist back when the comic was, or actually back then it was supposed to be a puppet show. And his buddy Glen, who I drew on a previous Tuesday video back when I was a couple weeks ago when I was still live streaming, Glen was supposed to be the main character, and Noah was going to be like his tribute band scene rival. Let's try the glass pen again, just to put some like taste buddy kind of textures on his mouth. I just realized the microphone is supposed to be overlapping his face, but I didn't actually draw the microphone overlapping his face. So what I'm going to do is bump the microphone back. So he's not actually into it, because otherwise it should have gone there, but I didn't draw it that way. So we are going to put the ball of the microphone here. And a little band around like that. He should probably be, well, we'll assume this is his own microphone. They should have like a spit shield. Well, the little sock thingy, the little foam cover thing, which also acts as like a pop filter. And that goes there. Better angle for that. The top, I think, turned out really, really nice with the gridding. That one, that end's not as good, but that's fine. And then we do have to add more of his hair. So anyways, Noah was conceived of as the obnoxious guy in the U2 tribute band that Glen can't stand. Glen's band is, Glen has an Aerosmith tribute band and a Motley Crue tribute band. And then I kind of was thinking of it and going like, maybe Glen's woman Gigi has some involvement with this Noah dude. And then I kind of was like, he's her first husband. She's his baby mama. They were together in high school. Something like that. So, and then it kind of developed from there. And then at some point I thought, it's like, you know what? I think this Noah dude is more interesting than Glen. And they always say, make your most interesting character your main character. So there you have it. Noah has been married 5 times. Ruth is his 5th wife. I mean, Gigi was his first wife out of high school, and it was like he knocked Gigi up and then he did, the right thing, and it didn't work out. And then he knocked up this gal, Maria, who was a waitress at his favorite dive bar. And he married her, and they had their son, Duke. That didn't work out, so then they got divorced, and then Noah is kind of like tramping around North America busking and sending money home for the kids, for his 2 exes, playing on street corners and stuff like that. Definitely, probably not with a U.S. work visa. Don't do that, folks. It's very bad. You will get, if they catch you, they will ban you from the United States for like 10 years, if not for life. I have heard of, I have not personally, but I have, back in my college radio days, I had friends of friends who did kind of pull the thing of, we're just going to Seattle to visit friends, and then the friends happened to also be in bands and lent them their instruments so that these guys could play a gig in Seattle with no work permit, and they got found out, and then they got banned. And then if you can't tour in the States, that's pretty much your music career. So, again, don't do it. Do things the right way, even though it does involve, like, you got to join the musicians union, so the AFM, and then it's a matter of paperwork, right? I mean, it may be different now, although, I mean, I remember going down and dropping off paperwork for friends' bands, where I worked for their manager, dropping off their applications at the AFM, or getting their AFM stuff up to date so that my boss could mail in their work permits to tour in the United States. It's a hassle, but usually it would go through fine. It was just, you had to plan in advance and do it the right way, and book your. It made more sense to do it for a tour than for like a one-off gig, right? But just because you had to do it like 4 or 5 months in advance, depending on their backlog and all, it was a hassle. But I didn't know anyone who did it the right way who got refused. They just had to wait, and that's expensive to do it that way. I mean, not just that you have to pay your union dues, which can be, I don't know, in those days, I think it was a couple $100 a year or something like that. And then the application costs and all that. But compared to screwing up your career because you got banned from like the biggest, well, not the biggest, but for rock music, the biggest market on the planet. Obviously, China and India have more people, but it's not as common to tour over there. It's not worth it. Don't be an idiot. Do it the right way. And the other thing I gotta remember is Noah has a very hairy chest, so let's start doing that. They'll also mask a little bit of this, where the line is. It's supposed to be over his collarbones, right? But anyways, I forget why I was starting to talk about the AFM and touring, but oh yeah, because Noah, part of the story of Noah is that he was like busking around in North America and just like hitchhiking and doing things the not correct way. Anyway, oh yeah, and then I was talking about his wife. So then when he was down in the States, he was in Vegas this one time and very, very intoxicated, and a showgirl caught his eye and he proposed, and she said okay, basically because she was fighting with her boyfriend, wanted to make him jealous. So they got married. Well, that's Denise. We have met Denise in the webcomic. In fact, Denise, I mean, that marriage obviously is a sham. They got an annulment pretty much right away. But they stayed friends afterwards. And in fact, Denise has a daughter who's the same age as Ursula. Denise got back with her boyfriend Simon, and they got married, and yada yada yada. They've been married for like 16 years at this point in the story, and they have a few kids. And she was dancing until the last really of the big shows. I think at Bally's, or I think the story I came up with was she broke her leg falling down the stairs at Bally's during a show once, and after that, when she came back, she didn't. She decided. I think she opened up her own dance studio. I'm trying to remember now. I think she has her own dance studio, but also she and her husband. And he's like a betting odds guy, like a bookie. Well, basically a bookie, but does things the legal way, sports betting and whatnot. They also bought a big house and run a B&B. So she kind of does that, as well as she had. I'm trying to remember now. I may have planned to have Denise be a dance teacher, have a dance school, and then maybe I decide not to. I don't remember now. I'd have to look at my notes. But anyways, Noah and Denise are still friends, and Denise's daughter Cindy is the same age as Ursula, and they're pen pals. And Denise is the only wife that Noah's current wife and forever wife, Ruth. Denise is the only one that she's kind of jealous of. She's not jealous of or like insecure about. She's not jealous or insecure about Gigi. She's not insecure about Maria. But Denise, for whatever reason, and there's no reason for it. Like, Denise and Noah were not really together other than for a couple weeks, and they're just friends. So there's no reason for Ruth to be insecure about Denise, but for some reason she is insecure about Denise. And then the fourth wife, Lisa, has not really been talked about in any of the comics. Because by the time I was doing it, it's like, okay, this backstory is complicated enough. But Lisa. Lisa was a. I'm gonna flip this upside down to start working on the background. Lisa was the weather girl on the local TV news, and she kind of got Noah into doing some like charity fundraising type stuff, or that's how they met. Noah got into having a wedding band because Gigi has a little cafe, a little diner, and also does wedding catering on the side on the weekends, or has a sideline where it's a catering business. So because Gigi was involved with weddings, then, she would recommend to brides, like, well, if you like rock, my ex-husband, he sings in a cover band, he's pretty good and whatnot. So then Noah got into that business, and wedding bands are lucrative. So Noah's band, wedding band, is called the Knotheads, and they turn up. It comes up in the comics every so often. It'll definitely come up in if I do the graphic novel about how Noah met Ruth, because that's a big part of the story of how they got together. But anyways, when Noah and Lisa were together, she got him into. He kind of started to become a bit of a local celebrity, basically, because he was dating the weather girl. At the wedding, they didn't have any kids, surprisingly enough. And, it lasted a few years, but it wasn't working out. But they stayed friends. Lisa ended up moving back home to Halifax, or, somewhere back in the Maritimes. But I think I decided on Halifax and the story. And there she met a fisherman, fell in love. Then they've had a few kids. Probably one of their kids is also a pen pal with Ursula. And she ended up becoming the local, getting promoted from weather girl to actual news anchor. I'm I am going to kind of outline a little bit of these sweat drops, though, because now they kind of disappear into Noah's chest hair. Which we want them to, but we also want some semblance of the sweat still continuing down, because it will. Anyway, so that's kind of Noah's world. And some of Ruth's oh yeah, so I guess I might as well explain a little bit of how Noah and Ruth got together then. After Lisa and Noah got divorced, Noah by this point was kind of established in playing band gigs and whatnot, and he was singing in the, oh crap, spilled a bunch of black ink and now it's on my arm. Anyways, it's like, what's wet over there? Oh, there's only one thing that would be wet on this table right now, and it is black and sticky. Anyways, so Noah then is playing in gigs. One of the gigs was for he sang in a Marilyn Manson tribute band at the time. And they had a few different, sometimes you get gigs organized where it's like tribute night and there's a whole bunch of tribute bands in like different genres in there. So anyways, Ruth had a breakup and her friend insisted, well, whatever, there's this tribute band playing night, come on, gotta go. So she goes with her friend, and Noah sees her from across the room, and suddenly he knows this is the real one. This is it. That is the future Miss and forever Mrs. Thorsen. Unfortunately for him, Ruth hates Marilyn Manson. Probably with good reason, Anyways, but he tried to get her to come up on stage and dance with him, as he explained it to Ursula, to a very naughty song. I envision that the song in question would be a very charming Marilyn Manson ditty called Slut Garden. I didn't put that in the comic, though. And she did come up on stage, and she hauled off and slapped him right across the face for asking. But, he was already smitten. And then that happened to be the summer that Ruth was a bridesmaid 5 or 6 times over. And, well, guess who's singing in the bride? Guess whose wedding band was hired by all these brides? Yep, Noah. So he kept running into her. He kept trying to talk to her. Obviously he was aware of the fact that she's got a right hook on her. But, he would try and talk to her and get her to go on a date, and she would tell him to F off and whatnot. But, he was respectful, but he hoped that someday, because Noah is a romantic after all, so he believed that at some point it would work out. And that point was the 5th or 6th wedding of the season. And any more than that, we'll just leave it for the graphic novel I'm planning to do on this. So, but let's just say it involved Ruth getting revenge on somebody who had wronged her. And Noah agreed to help on the condition that she would go to dinner and a movie with him and at least give him a chance. And obviously he made a good impression, because at this point in the story, they've been together for like 10 years and they have 2 kids. And there will not be a 6th wife. Like, Ruth is it. So there we go. This is like the clamp that holds the mic in, and sometimes they have a little bit of like a pebbly texture, which is why I'm doing that with them things. So let's see here. I'm going to flip this upside down so I'm going to use the brush because I got big areas to do. But we're going to have these kind of beams of light. So anything outside of the beams of light is just going to be black. but we've got multiple beams of light coming in, so yeah, I kind of have to concentrate, sort of. So I don't go over. I'm not going all the way to the edge here because this is a 9 by 12 piece of paper, but my scanner only will go up to like 8.5 by 11. So, you know, I'm not worried about the edge. So I've drawn the outline of the size I want, and I don't need to waste ink. So, I mean, I do go over the line, but that's kind of not so much because I'm trying to get full coverage, just because I don't want the stroke to end at the line, you know what I mean? I'm leaving white outlines around Noah's hair and around the notes. And spots where it gets a little too close, I may touch up in Photoshop and kind of erase those little bits that go right to the edge. This edge is an edge that'll be in the paper or in the final drawing, because this will jam right up against the side of my scanner bed, so that will all show now. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be the last video I post about this particular project until it's like, hey, it's out now, go buy it video. What we will be moving on to next Tuesday is probably, like I think I said earlier, I've been going for almost 45 minutes or so, so I'm forgetting now, but it'll either be, we'll be starting to draw stuff from the Cheesy Rat story, or it'll be starting to draw from the How Noah Met Ruth story. At the time of recording, I haven't decided yet. I need to decide pretty quick, though. So that'll be that. And, yeah, well, when this is being posted, a couple weeks after I record it, now all the Monday through Thursday videos are being pre-recorded rather than streamed. So that part's already happening. And yeah, just thinking, may kind of put in a few little lines, just kind of to show the direction of the beams of light. And do I want to think up? I do think that there's a couple lines I need to make thicker. Like the bottom of the microphone is kind of blending in a little too much, as if it was part of his hair. So if we put a little bit of a shadow on it, that pops it out. And then I think that also needs kind of there a little bit. But yeah, I think that is done then. So there we have it. Noah Thorsen doing his thing on stage. I'm just going to bring the document camera a little bit lower down so we can see some more detail. Because I know to get it to kind of be up so you could see the entire thing, and I didn't have to worry about like working off camera, not paying attention. That's like that. Okay. It's curling up, so it makes it look like it's a weird angle, but anyways. There we go. There's Noah, the beads of sweat on his face. I'll think when this is dry, I may go in a couple spots with not a thick liner, but like a 0.3, and just kind of put a little bit of shadow under some of those sweat drops. But I'll leave it for now. Noah's nose kind of looks a bit like a potato, but you know, and his eyes are bugged out, which makes it look weird when I kind of give some 3D rendering to him, but that's how he is in the cartoons, right? Anyways, so there's his face, his microphone, his best Jagger impersonation, and then at the bottom, it's just my note, how Noah, or it says how Noah sees himself. Well, I mean, it's kind of what he actually does do, though. It says use acrylic markers for some color. Yeah, we're not doing that. None of the other cast portraits have it. So anyways, there you have it. And that seems like a good spot to throw this up there. If you've enjoyed today's stream, do like, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. You've heard all the YouTubers kind of say blah 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 blah. Like, subscribe, share, blah 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 blah. It does help. So if you've enjoyed it, please do subscribe and check out for more. I do post, a fair number of videos. I mean, who knows? By fall, I might be just posting a couple a week, but even so, we'll see how it goes. But right now, I'm posting a bunch of stuff for a few different projects. So anyways, and there we go. There's Noah and his daughter Ursula, and then, of course, Ricky and Miles from one of my other projects. So thank you for watching. Tune in again for future videos. And what I will leave you guys with is the playlist for Noah's Archipelago, so you can see other streams and shorts and other videos I've done related to these characters. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye for now.